In the quiet village of Umuez, where the trees whispered secrets and the wind carried the scent of struggle, lived a girl whose name was almost forgotten, Kamsi. She was 16, but her spirit felt much older. Life had carved stories into her eyes, stories no child should carry. Her mother died the day she was born. The villagers whispered that she came with a curse, a bad omen wearing the face of innocence. Her father, once a proud hunter, drank himself into silence, and by the time Kamsi turned 10, he disappeared into the forest and never returned. She was left with her aunt, Mama Ifeoma, a woman whose heart was as dry as the Harmattan wind. From morning till night, Kamsi fetched water, swept the compound, farmed cassava, and still got slapped for breathing too loudly. A child does not grow well without love, no matter how rich the soil, the village potter once muttered as Kamsi passed by with a leaking bucket on her head. But no one helped her. Everyone saw, but no one spoke. In Umuez, silence was a form of survival. She wore torn wrappers and walked barefoot, her feet hardened by the earth and her heart hardened by rejection. Her only friend was a goat named Agu, who followed her around like a shadow. Sometimes she would whisper to him at night, "Agu, maybe one day the moon will remember me." When the house is on fire, the child born in the ashes learns not to cry, her grandmother once said before she passed. Kamsi had learned that lesson well. On the day this story truly began, the sky was heavy with clouds and tension. Kamsi had overslept. Her aunt burst into the room like thunder, yanking the raffia mat from under her. "Useless girl! Even your mother knew how to rise with the cock's crow. Go and fetch firewood before I skin you alive." Kamsi didn't argue. She had learned that even truth could get you beaten. She stepped into the forest barefoot, carrying a dull machete and a woven basket. As she walked deeper, she paused under a kola tree, dropped to her knees, and whispered a prayer into the soil. "God, if you can hear me, I don't want riches. I don't want beauty. I just want peace. I'm tired of fighting shadows." "The chicken that stays too long in the rain forgets it has feathers," she murmured to herself. "But I'm not a chicken. I will not forget who I am." And that was the moment the wind changed. A strange breeze brushed her face, and the leaves rustled with a whisper too soft for most to hear. But Kamsi heard it. Something had shifted. The rain fell that afternoon, not in thunderous anger, but soft and steady, like tears from a sky that had seen too much. Kamsi returned from the forest soaked to the bone, her basket of firewood slipping from her hands as she staggered into the compound. Mama Ifeoma sat on her wooden chair under the thatch-roof shed, shelling groundnuts like her hands had never known peace. "You think you're doing me a favor?" she snapped. "Look at you, wet like a cursed dog. Next time, don't come back." Kamsi said nothing. She simply picked up the fallen firewood, carried it to the kitchen, and knelt by the hearth to start the fire. Her fingers trembled, not from fear, but from the cold that had soaked into her bones and stayed there like trauma. The lizard that jumps from a high tree and survives should not be mocked for how it lands. She whispered it under her breath, a proverb her father once told her when he was still kind. Just as the fire began to crackle, she heard a voice, deep, calm, not from the compound. "Excuse me." Kamsi turned. At the gate stood a young man, his clothes muddy, his shirt torn at the shoulder. A traveler? A stranger? He looked misplaced. "I'm looking for Mama Ifeoma," he said, adjusting the bag on his shoulder. "I was told she sometimes rents out the small shed in the backyard." Kamsi stood and wiped her hands. "Wait here." She walked over to Mama Ifeoma and spoke gently. "Someone is looking for you. He says he needs the shed." "Another useless beggar," her aunt hissed, standing up and tying her wrapper tightly. "Let me deal with him." But when she saw the young man, something shifted in her face. Greed. Maybe she saw potential. Maybe she just saw money. "You want to stay here?" she asked, pretending to smile. "Yes, Ma, just for a while. I have work on the road construction nearby. I can pay a little." She sized him up. 600 naira a week, no noise, no guests. You fetch your own water." The boy nodded. "Deal." By evening, he had moved into the shed beside the goat pen. He swept the room, spread a thin mat, and sat quietly outside, watching the rain fade. Kamsi passed by with a bucket of water. He looked up and smiled. It wasn't the kind of smile that boys give when they want something. It was the kind of smile that says, "I see you, even if the world pretends you're invisible." She blinked. Something in her chest shifted. Just a little. "Even the river that forgets its path will one day find the ocean," she whispered. And in that moment, a new chapter in her life, one soaked in hope, began. Kamsi had never spoken to a stranger before. Not properly. The village men only barked orders. The boys laughed at her rags. Even Agu the goat listened better than most humans. But this young man in the shed, he was different. His name was Obinna, a name that meant father's heart. But there was something about his presence that spoke more of God's kindness than any father she'd ever known. He didn't talk much, but when he did, his words felt like warm oil on wounded skin. He greeted her with respect, thanked her when she helped him draw water, and even smiled at Agu like he was part of the family. On the third day after he moved in, Kamsi found a tiny piece of yam by the doorstep of the shed. Cooked, salted, software. For her. Obinna looked up from where he was tying his muddy boots and said, "You work hard. You deserve better." Kamsi looked at the food, then at him, her heart tight. The hand that gives a little with love is better than the hand that gives plenty with pride. From that day, something shifted. She started talking more, laughing softly. Sometimes when Obinna came back from work, he would find her feeding Agu and singing quietly. Her voice, once swallowed by silence, was learning to rise again. One night as they sat by the fire, he looked at her and said, "Kamsi, I don't know your story, but I see your strength, and I promise you, whatever pain you've carried, it won't follow you forever." She looked away, hiding her tears, because no one had ever made her a promise before. Mama Ifeoma noticed the shift. Kamsi was smiling more. Her cheeks were fuller. Even the neighbors had started whispering that, "The girl they shine small, small." And Mama Ifeoma, she didn't like it one bit. One evening, she stood at the doorway, watching Obinna and Kamsi laugh over a cracked coconut, her face twisted like bitter leaf. "So that's how a beggar and a bastard start forming husband and wife under my roof?" she muttered. When a frog begins to puff its chest, the snake gets curious. The next morning, Mama Ifeoma struck. She dragged Kamsi out of the room by her wrapper. "You think you're a queen now, Abi? Laughing with a man like you've arrived?" She slapped her. Once. Twice. "You forget where you come from. Your mother died like a goat and left you to me." Obinna heard the noise and rushed out. "Ma, please, don't hit her again." "And you," she turned, eyes blazing. "You're the one giving her wings to fly? Feeding her like you're her husband? You must leave this place." Kamsi dropped to her knees, begging. "Please, Auntie, don't send him away. He's not done anything. When two elephants fight, it is the grass that suffers." That day, Obinna packed his small bag. Before he left, he turned to Kamsi and said one thing. "Don't let anyone kill your spirit. Even if they chain your feet, make sure your soul keeps dancing." Then he walked away. And Kamsi, she didn't cry. She burned. Life returned to its usual hell. Worse even. Mama Ifeoma doubled the chores. Kamsi began waking before the cock crowed and slept after the moon had gone quiet. Her fingers bled. Her back ached. Her feet cracked open from carrying firewood across angry paths. But her soul was done breaking. Each day she remembered Obinna's words. "Let your soul keep dancing." And so she did. When Agu followed her, she spoke to him like Obinna was listening. "When I leave this place, I'll go to school. I'll become something. One day people will mention my name with pride. I swear it, Agu. Even the stone that sinks in the river knows how to rise again during dry season." One night, while sweeping the compound, she found a folded paper hidden under the broken basin near the shed. It was a letter from Obinna. "Kamsi, if you ever find this, know that I meant what I said. You deserve peace. I'm working hard in the city now. One day soon I will return. And when I do, if life hasn't killed your smile, I'll take you with me. Until then, shine, even if the sun forgets to." Her knees buckled, but this time she cried not from pain, but because someone still believed in her. It was a dry season morning, the kind of day where even the wind coughed. Kamsi was on her way back from the stream, Water on her head, thoughts in her soul. Suddenly, a black car pulled up by the village junction. Strange, rare, rich. A woman stepped out. Dark glasses, clean wrapper, confidence in every step. She asked the villagers for directions. To Mama Ifeoma's house. Whispers spread like wildfire. Who was she? Why here? Kamsi dropped her water and walked closer, curiosity tugging at her skirt. The woman turned to her. You, what's your name? Kamsi, she replied softly. The woman smiled. Good. Obina sent me. The calabash in Kamsi's chest cracked open. When the drum of destiny beats, even the deaf begin to dance. The woman stood tall, her heels tapping against the dusty village road as she walked towards Kamsi. The villagers watched, their faces hidden behind wrinkled hands, whispering in hushed tones. Who was this woman, and why had she come for Kamsi? Kamsi stood frozen, the words Obina sent me ringing in her head like a drumbeat. She could barely breathe. She looked around, but there was no one who could help her understand what was happening.